Hi everyone, welcome to today's GCSE Foundation Revision video. There's 28 days to go into your GCSE Maths exam, so 4 weeks exactly. And today we're going to focus on the topics of parts of the circle, so things like the radius, the diameter, the circumference, a chord, an arc, a sector, a segment, a tangent, things like that. We're also going to look at circumference, so the distance around the outside of a circle, so circumference is pi times diameter. And we're also going to look at the arc length, so the length of part of that circumference. So in today's video, we're going to look at those. I'm going to go for each of them. And it's a topic where I'd highly recommend you write some notes. So if you've got window pens, do the parts of the circle on your window. So write those parts of the circle on your window. So if you're daydreaming, you can see the parts of the circle and the name so you'll remember them. If you've got a cheat sheet, jot them down on your cheat sheet, the parts of the circle. Make sure you know the circumference equals pi times diameter, or you might use 2 pi r depending on what approach your teacher would recommend to you. So circumference is pi times diameter, or 2 times pi times the radius. So either one of those, if you remember, that's a very important thing to remember as well. So if you've got your window pens, put them on your window or on your cheat sheet and make sure you know that. Or if you have a Corbettmaths revision card on circumference, make sure you learn that as well. So circumference and also arc length, how to find the length of the arc, part of the circumference. So in this video, we're going to go through those. They're very important things to remember. And I highly recommend in this video that you press pause and you try the questions as we go through them. So let's get started.
Okay, so let's start off with the radius. So this red line is the radius from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. The whole way across the circle is called the diameter. So the line that goes from one side of the circle through the center to the other side of the circle is called the diameter. And obviously it could be vertical or diagonal and so on, but this is the diameter of the circle. Okay, next is the circumference. So the whole way around the outside of the circle is called the circumference. This red line is called the chord. So a line that joins one part of the circle to another part of the circle, like so. So that line is called the chord. An arc is part of the circumference. So this shown in red here is the arc. A tangent is a straight line that touches the circle once and carries on. So this is a tangent. And the saying going off on a tangent. So that's a tangent. It's that line that touches the circle and carries on. Okay, next shown in green is a sector. So if you've got a radius, another radius, and an arc, the region inside of them is called a sector. So that's a sector. I like to think of it like a pizza slice. And then finally, this region in green is called a segment. So here in green, this region is a segment. So we've got a chord and an arc, and the region bound between those is called a segment. And in terms of the segment, I like to think of a chocolate orange, each of them in a segment and looking like this. So you've got the segment. And that's it. So the circumference of a circle is found by pi times diameter. So if we want to find the circumference of a circle, we do circumference is pi times diameter. And that will give you the circumference of a circle. And if you feel happy with circumference of a circle, feel free to pause the video now and to try this question and see if you get it right. So for instance, if we had this circle here where we've got a diameter of 14 centimeters, if we wanted to find the circumference, the distance around the outside of the circle, we would do the circumference equals pi times diameter. Now the diameter of the circle is 14, so we're going to do pi times 14. And then we would get our calculator, and this is a calculator question. I'll show you a non-calculator question in a second. So on your calculator, you'd get the pi button up. So you'd press shift and then pi, and then you get that button up. And then you'd type in times 14. And then you'd press equals, and then your calculator would come up as 14 pi. And then if the question asks you to give it to so many decimal places, you would then change that into a decimal, and it would give you the answer of 43.98229715 and so on centimeters. And that would be the circumference of the circle. Now, if you were asked to give that perhaps to 2 decimal places, then to 2 decimal places, the answer would be 43.9, and then we've got 82, so it'd be 0.98 centimeters to 2 decimal places. And that's it. So to find the circumference of a circle, you just do pi times diameter, and that gives you the circumference of a circle. Now, some teachers use the formula circumference equals 2 pi r. So instead of using pi times diameter, you may have seen this formula, which is circumference equals 2 times pi times the radius. And if you just think about it, if you double the radius, you get the diameter. So this formula is just the same as this one. Now, in this video, I'm going to be using circumference equals pi times diameter because that's my favorite formula. That's the one that I use. That's the one that I use a lot. But if you want to use this version, feel free to. Okay, so now we've got a non-calculator question. So we've got a circle, and we've got the radius of the circle is 5 centimeters. And the question says to find the circumference of the circle and to give your answer in terms of pi. So whenever you've got a non-calculator question, it'll often say give your answer in terms of pi. So again, we've got circumference equals pi times diameter. If you feel happy with this, feel free to give this question a shot now yourself and press pause and give it a try yourself. Alternatively, I'm about to go for it now. Okay, so to find the circumference of a circle, we do circumference is pi times diameter. So circumference equals pi times diameter. So the circumference of the circle is going to be found by doing pi multiplied by its diameter. Now, in terms of the diameter of the circle, well, the radius is 5 centimeters. Well, if this distance is 5 centimeters to this side, this radius would be 5 centimeters as well. So it means the whole diameter of this circle would be 10 centimeters. So the diameter of the circle is 10 centimeters. So we've got circumference equals pi times diameter. Well, the diameter is 10. So we've got pi times 10. And then then we're just going to put them together. Now, whenever we put them together, we put the number, the 10 in the front of the pi, so the answer would be 10 pi centimeters, and that's it. And don't forget your units of centimeters. So in this question, we're asked to find the circumference of this circle and to give our answer in terms of pi. The answer would just be 10 pi centimeters, and that's it. So if you've got a non-calculator question, you just do pi times diameter, and then you just leave it in terms of pi, so it'll be maybe 10 pi or 100 pi or 52 pi or something like that. Okay, so we've looked at how to find the circumference of a circle using pi times diameter. Now let's look at how to find the perimeter of a semicircle. Feel free to press pause and try it yourself, and in a second I'm going to go through it. Okay, so we've got this semicircle, and if we want to find the perimeter of the semicircle, we need to find the length of the side. So we need to find the length of this base, and that's going to be quite straightforward. That's going to be 6 centimeters because the radius is 3 centimeters, so the whole way across would be 6 centimeters. But we also need to find the length of this arc. So this distance is going to round the top of the outside of the semicircle, so the length of that curved part, this arc. So to find the length of this arc, what we're going to do is we're going to consider the whole circle. So we're going to consider this whole circle, and we're going to find the circumference of the whole circle. So we're going to do circumference is pi times diameter. So if we do pi times diameter, we'll find the circumference of this whole circle. So the circumference equals pi times diameter, and the diameter of the circle will be, well, 3 and another 3 would be 6 centimeters. That would be the diameter of the whole circle, would be 6 centimeters. So we're going to do pi multiplied by the diameter, so we're going to do pi multiplied by 6. Now this is a calculator question, so I'm going to do pi multiplied by 6, and that would be 6 pi, and you could leave your answer in terms of that. You could leave it as 6 pi, or as a decimal number would be 18.8495592 and so on centimeters. So that's the circumference of the whole circle. Now we don't want the circumference of the whole circle, we just want to find half of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this circumference and we're going to divide it by 2. So we're going to do 18.8495 and so on, or your 6 pi if you wanted to use 6 pi, and then you're going to do divided by 2, and I've already got that on my calculator display, so I just need to press divided by 2 equals, and it gives me 3 pi, or 9.42477779 and so on centimeters. So that's fantastic. We've now found the length of this arc. So we've found the distance from here all the way around to the other side here. That distance would be 9.42477779 and so on centimeters. So that's fantastic. So if we now just focus on the semicircle, so let's not focus on the whole circle anymore, we needed to find the length of the base and we needed to find the length of the arc, and we found those. The length of the base, the whole way across, would be 6 centimeters plus what we've just got in terms of the arc, which is 9.4247 and so on. Or if you've got 3 pi, feel free to use that. And then if you add them together, so 6 plus and then the 9 point so on, I'm just going to press the answer button, and that gives me an answer of 15.42477779 and so on centimeters. So that's fantastic. So we've found the perimeter of that semicircle. So the perimeter of that semicircle to 3 decimal places would be 15.425 centimeters, and that's it. Now let's look at how to find the perimeter of a quarter circle. So again, if you feel happy with this topic, feel free to pause the video now and to try this question now yourself. Okay, so if I wanted to find the perimeter of this quarter circle, I would need to do 15 centimeters plus another 15 centimeters, because it's a quarter circle. That would be the center of the circle. That's the radius and that's the radius, so they're the same length as each other. And we need to add on the length of this arc from here around to here. Now that would be a quarter of the whole circumference of the whole circle. So let's consider the whole circle. So if we had a whole circle, like so, if we do pi times diameter, we can find the circumference of the whole circle. And then if we divide by 4, we can find the length of this arc. So let's do that. So the circumference of the whole circle, so circumference equals pi times diameter. So it's going to be pi multiplied by the diameter of the whole circle. So the diameter of the whole circle will be 15 plus another 15 would be 30 centimeters. So we're going to do pi multiplied by 30. And pi multiplied by 30, that's going to be 30 pi, or as a decimal number, 94.247777961 and so on centimeters. So that's the circumference of the whole circle. Now we're going to divide it by 4 to find the length of that arc. So we're going to take our 94.247 and so on, just leave it on your calculator display and press divide by 4 and see what that's equal to. So divide by 4 and you get that's equal to 23.56194 and so on centimeters. So the distance from here around to here, this distance here, would be equal to 23.5619 and so on centimeters. So that's the length of the arc, and that's fantastic because now we can do 15 plus 15, and plus the length of the arc, and that'll give us the perimeter of the quarter circle. So 23.56194 and so on, and we get that's equal to 53.56194 and so on centimeters. And if we're asked to give our answer to 2 decimal places, it would be 53.56 centimeters, and that's it. So that's the perimeter of that quarter circle. So we've looked at how to find the perimeter of a semicircle and a quarter circle, but what happens if the sector has an angle which isn't as nice as 90 degrees or 180 degrees, or if the angle was 14 degrees, for instance? So if you want to find the length of the arc, the formula to find the length of the arc would be beta over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by the diameter. In other words, beta is the size of this angle, so it would be 14 over 360, so that's the fraction of the circle, multiplied by the circumference of the circle. So in other words, you're working out the circumference of the circle, and then you're just working out the fraction of it that you need to find the length of the arc. So that's it. So the formula to find the length of this arc is found by beta over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by the diameter, where beta is the size of the angle and d is the diameter of the whole circle. And the question says, find the perimeter of this sector. So feel free to pause the video now and to try this question out yourself. And just remember that whenever you're finding the perimeter, it's not just the arc length, it's the whole perimeter. Okay? So to find the perimeter of this sector, well, we've got our 8 centimeters and our other 8 centimeters here, 8 centimeters and 8 centimeters, and we need to find the length of the arc, and then we can add up those 3 distances, and then that'll be the perimeter of the sector. So let's find the length of this arc. So we've got beta, which is 14 degrees over 360, so that's 14 360ths of a full circle, multiplied by pi, multiplied by the diameter of the whole circle. So if you had the whole circle, the diameter of the whole circle would be 16, so multiplied by 16. So then whenever we work this out, we get that's equal to 1.954768762 and so on centimeters. So that means the length of this arc from here around to here would be 1.9547 and so on centimeters. And now let's find the perimeter of the sector. So we're going to do 8 plus 8 plus 1.9547 and so on, and that would be equal to 17.9547 and so on centimeters, and that's the perimeter of the sector. So just remember, whenever you find the perimeter of the sector, you need to find the length of the arc by using the formula beta over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by the diameter of the whole circle. But then also, if it's the perimeter of the sector, to include the 2 radii as well, so make sure you're adding on the 8 and the 8. If the question just asks for the arc length, obviously you're just finding the arc length. Okay, let's have a look at one last question. So this time we've got a sector, and the radius of the sector is 10 centimeters. We've got the angle enclosed here is 20 degrees, and the question says, can you find the perimeter of this sector? So can you find the perimeter of this sector? So feel free to pause the video now and to try this question out yourself. Okay, so if I wanted to find the perimeter of this sector, I've got my 10 centimeters, I've got another 10 centimeters, and I want to find the length of this arc going around from here around to here. So let's find the length of this arc. So we're going to be using the formula beta over 360 multiplied by pi multiplied by the diameter of the whole circle. So beta, that's the angle, which is 20 degrees, divided by 360, so that's 20 360ths of a full circle, multiplied by pi and multiplied by the diameter of the whole circle. So if we have this whole circle, the diameter of the whole circle would be 20 centimeters, so multiply by 20. So we just need to work this out now. We get that's equal to 3.490658 and so on centimeters. So that means the length of the arc, this part, is 3.49065 and so on centimeters. And I asked you to find the perimeter of the sector, so it's going to be 10 plus 10 plus 3.4906 and so on, and that's equal to 23.4906 and so on. And let's just round our answer to 2 decimal places. That's 23.49 centimeters, and that's it. And I hope you got that right.
And that's it. So in this video, we've looked at the parts of the circle, so make sure you know those parts of the circle. We looked at the circumference, so how to find the circumference of the circle, and also how to find the diameter if we know the circumference and things like that. And also we looked at the arc length, so how to find the perimeter of a semicircle, quarter circle, how to find the length of an arc, okay? So we've looked at in today's video, and I really hope you found those useful. So as I said, there's 4 weeks to go to your GCSE maths exam. Keep up the hard work. You're doing really, really well. You're getting there. If you watch these videos so far and you've got to this point, you're doing fantastically well. Keep up your revision. Keep up your 5 a days. Be going through your past papers. Keep working hard, and you're going to do really, really well. You're going to ace it. Keep up the hard work. See ya. Bye.